Hello and welcome back to True Crime Guys podcast, special headlines and shenanigans 37 edition. 37 headlines and shenanigans. Man, they add up quick. Guys, it's just me again today. Andy is not ready to get back into the studio just yet. He did stop by and we did have kind of a more personal conversation on the mic a little bit, and that is going to be in the bonus content for this episode on Patreon. So make sure you guys check that out, patreon.com/truecrimeguys. You can get access to everything we've ever created, as well as early access to these episodes ad-free with bonus content, as I mentioned. But today, usually Andy hosts on Headlines and Shenanigans, and he brings cases that I am completely unaware of. I never know what he's going to bring to the show. And that setup still hasn't changed. And even today, we're kind of doing it the same way. Andy still found these cases. He sent them to me in a link, in an email, and I don't even know what they are. So let's discover them together, shall we? Okay, so our first article here is from kiranews.org. Let's see what this is. Literally anybody else is on the ballot for North Richland Hills mayor. Did I read that correctly? Literally anybody else is on the ballot for North Richland Hills mayor. A man who legally changed his name to literally anybody else. Oh, okay. I'm like, why is this capitalized and not the rest of it? And ran for president in 2024 is making a political comeback. This time, Else, they're just calling him Else. That's his official last name. That's hilarious. Else has thrown his hat into a much smaller ring, the contest for mayor of North Richland Hills. Okay, this ought to be good. This ought to be really good. The question is, will Else, formerly Dustin Eby, a North Richland Hills resident who works as an animal technician at a university lab in Dallas, garner the same kind of media attention for this race as he collected during months of coverage in the publications such as Fortune, USA Today, blah, 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 all that stuff. Apparently he made a huge splash 2 years ago throwing his name on the presidential ballot, but I never heard of this man. But they're saying, will he garner that much attention? That remains to be seen, right? I doubt it. Who gives a shit about the mayor of this place, in a grand scale, on the grand scale. But Else, he's 37 years old. He said he disagreed with the way Mayor Jack McCarty and the city council handled a dispute last year with the then member Blake Vaughn, ultimately reprimanding and stripping him of his position as deputy mayor pro tem. Else is challenging McCarty in the May 2nd general election, and early voting starts next month. So he said, quote, I decided to cast my hat in just to see if there's anybody else in North Richland Hills who wishes to express themselves, Else said. As it was, McCarty was going to run unopposed. Else said he took notice last year when the city council unanimously disciplined his friend Vaughn, who later left the council. Vaughn had accused McCarty of lying to the people during a dispute over carport regulations and whether the council had proper input into the questions the city staff sent out to residents about the matter. He said, quote, we have a few differences between us, but at the core of it, I agree with the way that the government should be a reflection of the people, not just the insiders who can have a slate, Else said. McCarty views the dispute as ancient history. Else, who has an undergraduate degree in combined sciences and was teaching in middle school when he ran for president, said he's trying to position himself to seek a master's degree and go into research. His wife is also a teacher, and the couple have a 5-year-old daughter together. He says his friends and family still call him Dustin, and he plans to eventually change his name back to Dustin Eby. He says, my name is legally literally anybody else. That name is more about branding, and I use it for government interactions and documents and social, personal, and stuff like that. He said, I think the only time in a social setting that people call me literally is my neighbor. That'd be funny, right? His neighbors just can't get over it. He's like, the guy next door to me? His name's literally anybody else. Yeah, that's his name. Every day we're going to get the paper. Literally. Hey, beautiful day we're having, literally. Yeah, I am sure that guy's a hoot. But he doesn't plan on fundraising for his campaign or spending much money. But he has been sought out for his perspective since he filed to run, he said. And he said, quote, I do plan on going to the meetings just to kind of create pressure for anybody who has something they need help on, he said. So it's more of just a way to draw attention to the fact that their current government is just not Not cutting it, right? I mean, it's a great plan. This is much better than, say, a killdozer. Some might argue it's not. But, slightly better. Okay, interesting story, Andy. Very interesting. This guy, I'm sure he's going to make real big ripples in North Richland Hills. But what else do we got here? Let's see. Our next case comes from Sebastian Daly. Indian River County inmate faces escape charge after leaving jail barbecue for sex in a portable toilet. That sounds about right. Man. It says an inmate at the Indian River County Jail faces a new felony charge after authorities say he slipped away from a barbecue for charity to have sex with a woman in a portable toilet. The inmate, Hartley Elliott Sanchez, he's 35 years old, was a trustee whose job was to help serve food at the event when he wandered off. An arrest report from the Indian River County Sheriff's Office said surveillance video showed Sanchez abandoning his post, walking behind a boat display near the portable toilets, and conversing with two women. Then, looking around to make sure no one was watching, a woman went into the toilet, and then Sanchez went in shortly after, and then they both came out separately a little while later. When deputies asked him about it, Sanchez acknowledged the encounter and offered that investigators should check out the video. And they identified the woman as a former inmate by matching footage to booking photos. Sanchez, who was awaiting sentencing at the time, now faces one count of prisoner escape or attempted escape under Florida law, and he is being held without bond. Yeah, unfortunately, under state law in Florida, even briefly stepping out of an assigned work area while in custody can count as an escape attempt. So the barbecue is an annual event where profits and donations go to benefit the Florida Sheriff's Youth Ranches. So he was volunteering for that little thing and stepped out to get him some, and now he's going back to prison. Damn, another felony. Just like that, attempted escape. Man, but he came back. It's like, check the video, he came back. Ah, man, that's tough, right? Whew, that's harsh. That is an extremely harsh punishment, in my opinion, for that. I don't know. Maybe he can get a retrial on that, because that's harsh. It's like, did the female prisoner get that, or maybe she was free. Maybe she wasn't in custody at the time. Maybe she was just a former prisoner. I'm not sure. But either way, oof. Man, he's really thinking about that. I hope it was worth it, bud. Hope it was worth it. Speaking of being worth it, a few weeks ago we covered a case of two teenagers who pushed a log off the edge of a cliff on a hiking trail, and it fell and killed a woman instantly, right? A prank gone wrong. And those two teenagers are, they're serving time. They may be out by now. I'm actually not entirely sure. No, I don't think they are. No, they're still going to be serving time, but they're not going to be serving life. But they are in prison, right? This is very similar, but allegedly this was not a malicious prank. This was more of a loving style prank that just kind of got out of hand, but it's shocking nonetheless. Okay. This happened in Georgia. It says the family of a Georgia teacher who died over the weekend after a high school student prank gone wrong say that they fully support dropping criminal charges against the 5 teenage students who were involved. Right? That alone got my attention. In a statement to ABC News, the family of North Hall High School math teacher and coach Jason Hughes said, quote, "We are thankful for the outpouring of prayers and support as we grieve the loss of Jason. We ask that you continue to pray for our family and also the students involved in the accident along with their families. Please join us in extending grace and mercy to them as Christ has done for us." And then they go on to say the family also said Hughes knew the students were coming to his house and was excited to catch them in this prank. I guess they had been threatened that they were going to toilet paper his house or whatever, and so he kind of knew it was coming. Here's another quote from the family. It said, "This is a terrible tragedy, and our family is determined to prevent a separate tragedy from occurring, ruining the lives of these students. This will be counter to Jason's lifelong dedication. This would be counter to Jason's lifelong dedication of investing in the lives of these children, they went on to say, which makes a lot of sense, right? Why do you want to, if it truly was an accident, why do you want to ruin these kids' lives so young? But police in Gainesville, Georgia said the 5 teenagers, Jaden Wallace, Ariana Cruz, Aiden Hucks, Anna Luke, and Elijah Owens, went to Hughes' home on Friday night to throw toilet paper at the trees on his property. The Hall County Sheriff's Office said that when Hughes came outside, the students, who were all 18 years old, all ran back to their vehicles and attempted to get away in a hurry. And at some point, Hughes, running out towards the road, apparently tripped and fell into the road. And one of the students actually ran him over. Jaden Wallace actually ran him over with his car. And then the sheriff's office said that Wallace and the other teens all stopped immediately and called 911 and tried to help their teacher, but he later died at the hospital. God, how heartbreaking is this? Wallace was charged with first-degree vehicular homicide and reckless driving and could face up to 15 years in jail. According to the sheriff's office, all 5 teenagers have also been charged with criminal trespassing and littering on private property. The Gainesville community is now mourning Hughes and rallying behind his wife, Laura, who is also a teacher at North Hall High School. They also have 2 sons together. One of Hughes' former students, Shaden Maynor, remembered him in an interview on ABC News. She said, "He was a great guy, a God-fearing man," said Maynor. "He would do anything. He'd take the shirt off his back and give it to you." Hughes' friend Matt Williams also said that, quote, "The family wants to make really clear that they knew these kids, they loved them, and that these kids loved the Hughes. And this was not a malicious act." Every article I can find about this, I've since been looking at other ones here as I'm telling you guys about this, and it just, every single one reiterates the fact that this was an absolute accident. And that just makes it even more heartbreaking. It really does. But yeah, apparently they are not going to press charges on these teenagers. But wow, I mean, how heartbreaking is this? You were just, it's like, what kind of, this guy must have had a great rapport with these kids. Right? If they're coming out, they feel like they can do this, and he's running out to goof off with them, like, "Oh, I caught you guys. I knew you weren't going to sneak in," and then this happens, right? This reminds me of another story that actually happened local here in my town, and it was nothing nefarious or anything like that. But a friend of mine, this actually happened at his church. Where him and his family go, and his son's youth pastor, they were having like a little cookout at their church in the parking lot, and the son's youth pastor was hanging out with some of the kids, and they had skateboards, and they were riding around, they were doing their tricks and whatnot, and the youth pastor was like, "Hey, let me try that," and he got on one of those little tiny skateboards, the little ones that are pointy in the front, little penny boards is what they call them. And he got on that thing and he rode down the sidewalk. And when he went off the edge of the sidewalk on a slope part where like a wheelchair would go out, it's kind of slid out from under him. He fell backwards, cracked his head on the curb, and died on the scene. I mean, you never know, right? Like, it's like, yes, humans are tough. Like, biologically, we've been through a lot of shit, but we're also very fragile, too. And it's like, accidents happen, and I think that is what this was. This was obviously more preventable than the skateboard thing, right? I mean, he did that completely on his own, but still, it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. Now the story we covered it with the log, I don't know. I have less sympathy for those boys, because you're kicking a log down in an area where people are constantly walking. This is not sometimes people are down there. No, people were always down there. You did that shit looking to scare the shit out of somebody at the bare minimum, right? That was a nefarious act, and I do believe that those boys should be in prison. But this one, it hits different. It hits a lot different. It really does. I feel for the family. I feel for his sons. I feel for his wife, and especially these students, these kids that they do crazy shit, and they cause a death, and they cause these tragedies that they can't take back at a young age. That shit they have to wear it for the rest of their lives. Survivor's guilt probably doesn't even scrape the surface. And we all do crazy stuff as teenagers. Like me and Andy talked about in the log episode, there were lots of things that we done where we could have gravely injured one of our friends or somebody else, but we just got lucky. We made the same bad decisions and just got lucky. But sometimes it doesn't work out that way. And I think these teenagers will have to live with this for the rest of their lives, and that is a heavy, heavy burden to kill someone who was a benefit to your life. A guy that I went to high school with, he was a year older than me, and he was driving a Volkswagen Jetta, and he was going to pick up 3 other friends, and they were all 4 going to go surprise another mutual friend of theirs for their birthday. And he picks up all 3 of them, and on the way back out, which happens to be on the road that I live on their way back out in this curve, I don't know exactly what happened, but they were going too fast. The driver lost control of the car. He skidded sideways into the oncoming lane, and a lady in a Buick just broadsided the car, just straight up, almost practically T-boned him, killing all 3 passengers, and the driver lived. He lived. The one acting careless, the one acting reckless, the one putting everyone's life in danger, he lived. Imagine that. I mean, you killed 3 of your best friends, ruined your other friend's birthday. I mean, and 2 of these guys I knew very well, and it's heartbreaking. It really is. But we've all made those decisions, right? We've all skidded around a turn. We all passed in the turning lane. We all went on a red light. We've all done the exact same equivalent of what caused these deaths. Some people get lucky, some people don't. That's why I tend to have a little more compassion for these. And also, man, when you're a teenager, what a volatile time of your life. You don't know what you want. You don't know who you are. You don't know what's important. You don't know any of this shit. And you're scared, you're nervous, even more so now. You think these kids being aware of literally everything all the time makes them less anxious, less suited to learn and evolve in this world? No, it just makes it more difficult. It muddies the waters for everybody. But guys, that's our last case. I didn't mean to end on such a depressing note. I just I don't know. I just want you guys to be grateful, right? Be compassionate. That's all I'm saying. These cases are complicated. But like I said, there are differences, right? There are times where you do make stupid decisions, and then there are times where you make stupid decisions where someone is very likely to get hurt. And if you still make those decisions, then you have to deal with the consequences. Simple as that. But guys, I'm sorry that this episode was shorter, a lot like last week, and obviously you guys see how much Andy brings to the show with his banter, his conversation. It lengthens the show quite a bit. Gives me a little air to talk, gives me a little room to talk rather, and to discuss things. And, I get a little feedback when Andy's here, and hopefully he'll be back in the studio very soon. Guys, we appreciate you guys being patient. And like I said, we did talk for nearly an hour yesterday, and we did record that conversation, and that is available on Patreon. So if you guys want to check out that, for just $3 a month, guys, you could do a trial as well. I think they still do 7-day free trials. And you can hear everything me and Andy talked about, see how he's doing, see how he's dealing with the loss of his dog, his best friend, Indy, and just see what's kind of going on in life and whatnot. But thank you guys so much for supporting the show. Thank you for leaving reviews. Thank you for telling friends. We're still growing. We're still changing, right? What is life other than change? That's all it is. People are like, oh, I like the old show. Or I like this. Or I miss these days. But guess what? I got news for you. We in the good old days right now. We always are, right? Change is inevitable. And here we are, guys. We're here. We're living in the moment. So I appreciate you guys listening. I appreciate you guys telling friends, subscribing, leaving reviews, all that good stuff. All right, make sure you check out Patreon. There's a link right below the description of this episode. Also, check out truecrimeguys.com. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it, guys. We'll be back next week with another True Crime Guys case. We got 3 of those bad boys coming up in a row. And then next month, it'll be time for headlines again. Right? All right, guys. Until next week, just keep on creeping. All right. See ya.